Welcome to Sound Values, powered in part by LSA Burger and Classic of Denton. The views and opinions expressed by the show hosts and their guests are those of the show host and guests, and not necessarily those of the sponsors, DentonRadio.com, or the Denton Convention and Visitors Bureau. For more information, visit the Policies and Procedures page at DentonRadio.com.
Radio.com. We are broadcasting in the beautiful Discover Denton Welcome Center on the ever-graying, look like it could possibly rain, Denton Square. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with some first-timers on the show tonight. I have with me two members of the band Antigua. We have Mr. Cameron Trevino and Mr. Honestly, Trent, I don't good your last name.
It's Reeves.
Oh, okay, cool. But Trenton Denton, if you want to check him out, you can hit at Trenton Denton. Find that right there. All the good vibes right there, fellas. Thank you. Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate it. We've all known each other through the music scene for a while. I knew Trent was a drummer, ran sound for me over at Andy's at my album release last year.
Handful of times.
It was a handful of times. It was great time.
Too.
Loved it, man. Super fun times. And then you and I, we've jocked it up for a while.
Last 5 years, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
LSA
It was good times. It was good times. Speaking of LSA, I want to give a shout out to them as the sponsor for the show tonight. Thanks for the plug. Way to go. Smooth transition. We did not plan that out. But, we've always kind of known each other through the scene. We've hung out a few times, but it's always like either at work or something like that, or always moving and grooming. So it kind of gives me an opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit more, besides behind like 3 feet of wood, or a soundboard.
I'd much rather prefer it be this way.
Yeah.
All around.
So Cameron, we'll go ahead and just kind of, and I'm going to be honest, dude, it's so weird to call you Cameron because I've always called you Trevino.
That's actually right. Yeah.
When I was typing your name in today, I had to go back and make sure that it was really Cameron because saying it did not feel like it should have been your name.
That'd be cool.
And
I go with Trevino too.
Yeah.
Trevino's all right with me. So
like Murdoch.
You can call me Trevino without this whole interview.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what we'll do. Yeah, Trevino.
Yeah, if it feels more natural to you, I'm all right with it.
It just did. Like, even when I was typing Cameron, I was like, this doesn't feel...
It's more work official.
Yeah, Trevino, But, man, I kind of want to just kind of start off with you, and one of the first questions that I like to ask people, and I'll throw it to you as well, Trent, is when it comes to music, what's one of your first musical memories where you kind of remember the way that music had an impact on you?
Oh, my gosh.
Or maybe impacted people around you where you were like, okay, music does something,
I think, like, from the earliest memories was just probably watching, videos on MTV, VH1, and just seeing that, like, the capabilities of people being able to make those kind of noises and to do those kinds of things. It just always looked really interesting and entertaining to me. And then once I started to go to shows live, that's when it became more real to me that, like, oh, I can actually do this if I put my mind to it. And honestly, like, I had a really good friend of mine when I was 12. I lied to him that I was like, yeah, I play music. I play guitar. And he was like, okay. So he comes over and, he just, like, beats me a guitar. And he's like playing these Sum 41 covers. I'm just like in awe, like, you can do that? Like, I didn't know that, like, that was possible, And so then I spent a long time, like, going off and on with guitar because I was skateboarding at the time, and then, like, I was not good at skateboarding, and then I went to music instead, and I would sit in my room for, like, hours and just...
Yeah, man. So I love it that you mentioned VH1.
Yeah.
Like, I and in MTV, there was a joke, or my producer that I follow had posted a tweet long time ago, and it said, I'm going to have my own show on MTV that will feature actual music. and then I was still like, well, at least we've still got VH1. VH1 was still holding on. I don't know if they have, like,
I just felt old saying VH1. Honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, all right, man. Like, but then we had VH1 Classic as well. We had 2 VH1s. And
the Dad Rock
now
stations.
MTV is it should be VH1.
It should
they
be,
should have their own new thing.
It really should be.
MTV has a whole new thing now?
I have no idea.
They should.
Thank goodness.
I think they're constantly trying to rebrand them.
What are we? Are we music? Are we teen moms? Are we New Jersey? What are we? I can only
imagine.
I'm
just a millennial. I don't have cable.
I can imagine. Exactly. I can only imagine those board meetings. Now, Trent, what was it like for For you, what was kind of your experience with music the first time you realized that it had an impact on either yourself or people around you?
Like with myself, I guess same as Cameron. Like in TV, I remember like staying up like all night just for like a rerun of a video on like MTV2, and like getting insomnia for waiting 8 hours to see a movie or like a music video, and then like now we have stuff like YouTube, which is crazy, where you can just like look up anything. You don't have to wait.
I mean, there was a time, I remember in like the 7th grade, me and my buddies rushed home to catch the debut of The Real Slim Shady.
Yeah.
On
I remember that.
On TRL.
I remember that.
Yeah.
On
TRL. Yeah. And, I can remember, those music videos. I worked in Colorado for a little while, and VH1 came up there, and they were doing like a spring break special at the resort I looked at.
Yeah.
And they had me in one of their little, like, one of those little places where they're like, hey, yeah, we have local, and I was a beat. I made beats when I lived up there. We got
awesome.
local beat maker here. I was not Kind Beats. I went by Moose. It was a
Moose?
nickname.
That's like really
And
good coverage
what's,
back then.
yeah. But what was so amazing was that the company that I worked for didn't allow us to have mustaches. Or no, goatees.
Okay.
They didn't allow goatees. All they allowed were mustaches.
Yeah.
So through a protest, I grew half of a mustache, and so I was on VH1 Spring Break at Beaver Creek in a video with half of a
I'm
mustache.
gonna try to find.
We'll find
if
that
that's
somewhere.
on-
You gotta
And
leave us
because and afterwards I asked the guy, I was like, they still do music videos? He was like, yeah. I was even surprised when I got the job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like this guy who was doing it. Yeah. So, and now, like you said, we've got YouTube, and
Yeah.
I'm starting to see, you guys can comment on this too, an emergence in music videos via like visual albums is what artists are starting to call them. And I've seen like Childish Gambino's done it, and then Beyonce has done it now too. Those were the two. But and then I started thinking like, there's people in the rock genre, the indie scene that I feel like have done that too. And one of the first that came to my mind was kind of Coheed and Cambria, where I thought about how they took their music and applied it to like a visual aspect. Now,
with the comic books. And
yeah,
stuff.
with the comic
Yeah.
books and all that. Now, can y'all think of like another how they've different bands or musicians have taken their music and put it out in like that?
Well, like Queens of the Stone Age did that, like the thing last time, and that was like the biggest rock album of.
Nice.
But I mean, like there's with mainstream music and stuff that's on VH1.
Are you talking about like visuals just for a certain song? Like
they
per
do like
se?
entire like albums where it's like a,
Okay,
a
I guess I
visual
didn't know about
experience.
this. Like
yeah.
I've seen like lyric videos, I've seen visuals for certain videos, but I didn't know a visual album.
Yeah,
was the
it's
same.
it's like
Like
in
the wall
every
of
yeah,
I had
every
no
song
idea.
has a video and they all
Yeah.
blend
Queens
together.
of the Stone Age did that,
I
and
had no idea.
like Weird Al, he did that too.
Of course,
They
Weird Al.
they
He
had,
has
like-
to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had like all the famous comedians of the time. They all made like videos for every song and stuff. But
That's what's
I
up.
would love to do something like that, like
Yeah.
like on the lo-fi and stuff. But a lot of
Yeah.
bands are doing that, like on YouTube. And
I
stuff.
think it's a great idea. I think it's really cool, and I think it results in like bands who want to do that. It's good songwriting because in a
Yeah.
way, if you're gonna do something, it kind of has to tell a story.
Well,
Yeah.
nowadays you have to have the full representation. It's not only the music; it's the visual, it's everything. It's the full package. So.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But like with
It's-
YouTube, like all this cool music's coming out, and it's like because these people are like doing it all DIY, and
Yeah.
just, like building it straight up. So you don't even need MTV or VH1. Like, but-
Yeah. It's amazing what you can put in your
Yeah.
like in a 5x5 space now.
Yeah.
To turn,
Oh, totally.
it's just firsthand. It's wild to me.
Exactly. So, with you were kind of saying you started going to shows, and that's where you're like, I think I could do that. So what was your first show that
Oh,
you ever
gosh.
went to?
So there's two answers to that question.
Okay.
The first show that I ever went to was Incubus in 2004. I won tickets off the radio, and that was the coolest thing ever.
Was this at the Gypsy Tea Room or like?
So this was in Houston. I'm from
okay.
Houston.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I've heard a lot of stories about Gypsy Tea Room though.
Yeah.
Before.
Dude.
And then I think like one of the first local shows I went to was in Sugarland, a little place called Courage, and like I thought it was the coolest little place ever because it was like this like skate shop, music shop, and we would have like these meetings every like Wednesday or Tuesday, and it was just a bunch of like 13, 14-year-old kids
Yeah.
just hanging out.
That's
and
awesome.
like this guy got us all together, and like being coming from like very introverted as a teenager, like it was really cool just to be there to do that. So I remember going to those shows and just like watching just random bands all the time.
Yeah.
And then it kind of grew more and more as I got older into going into Houston and going to a lot of punk shows. I used to go see a lot of like
Really good
punk.
scene there.
Yeah. One of the bands that I used to love watching was called the John Bonet. Like
Okay.
I followed that band like pretty religiously as a teenager and just rocking out all the time.
The John Bonet.
Yeah,
Nice,
the John
man.
Bonet.
That's really
yeah.
cool.
If anyone from Houston is seeing this, they'll know who I'm talking about. That grew up around that area. But
That's cool. That's cool.
very
man.
controversial name for sure.
Yeah.
But
so,
yeah.
how did you feel when you won those tickets? How did you win them? First off, was it a call in? Did you have
So
to?
It's a really funny story actually. So, I was actually about to go skate with my friends, and I will never forget this moment. I was tying my shoes, listening to the radio, and they were saying, "Hey, we're at the Saturn dealership right now, giving out free tickets to Incubus." And I'm like, "That's like right down the street from us." So like, I rushed to my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, like this is happening right now. Like, can we go like right now?" He's just like, "All right, we're not doing anything." So we get there, and there's no one there. It's just like this couple, and it was just them, and they got their tickets, and they're like,
Yeah.
"All right, we're gonna do another, drawing in like one more hour."
You're like
And
wearing an Incubus shirt. Like,
I'm like clearly just sitting there like this, and my dad, he's being sworn by like car salesmen.
Yeah.
While that's happening, and he's just like, my dad's like, "Can you just go ask them if like they're gonna do it again?" I was like, "All right, I'll go do it." And so I was like, "Hey, are you all gonna do another drawing soon?" And they're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "It's Cameron." And like, so they go through it. And they're like, "Here you go, kid." They give me 2 tickets to Incubus for free, just like that. Like, so
that's
it's like I
awesome.
won,
Like they
but not
should.
really.
Yeah.
So that's the story of like my first show.
Yeah, you're like, I didn't really win the tickets.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's epic. Look, I'll be the first to say I was a huge Incubus fan. I
Yeah.
still like the band.
Yeah.
I can still hear Morning View came on.
Morning View was
I Drive came on the radio the other day when I was just like, scanning through channels, and I was just like, it's still good. Even if you
it
might
holds
not
up.
like Brandon Boyd's voice, because like it can be a bit higher pitched for some people, like to deny how great the rest of those musicians are around him, from
yeah.
Mike Einzinger, and then their first bassist Dirk Lance, and
yeah, I
then the
remember
bassist Joe.
everyone talking about like the potential of like, I can't wait to hear what Incubus sounds like 10 years from now. Like,
Yeah.
when Morning
Oh,
View
yeah.
came out.
Yeah, and then
then-
and it changed a lot. I mean,
Times changed,
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah,
and
times
music's
changed.
going to
They
change.
came out of
and-
that like new metal. They were like the one like new metal that was like,
Yeah, because if you listen to Fungus Among Us, it's
Yeah.
completely
That's very
different
new
than
metal.
A
Good
Crow
stuff.
Left of the Murder.
Yeah.
And they're like 15 years
Yeah,
apart.
super young.
So if I'm still making the same, I'm not making the same
Right.
music I was making 15 years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that
that could be
so
a problem.
and I was such a fan that I have Brandon Boyd's tattoo,
No way.
the red
No
one
way.
on my back
That's
right
amazing.
here.
Awesome.
Yep, that was the first one I ever got.
Oh, wow.
Ever got. I lived in Austin. I used to go to the same sub shop every day called Thunderclown Subs.
Okay.
And this girl worked there, and I had always talked to her. She had tattoos, and I would talk to her about them, and she was an apprentice. And she told me, hey, if you ever want a tattoo, I can only charge you $20 because I'm an apprentice, and then you just tip me.
Nice.
I was like, okay, cool.
That's
So
how
I
you
went
do it.
down there, and she did the stencil, and I gave her $80, so I gave her 60 for the tattoo. I didn't really know if that
I
was
gotta see
enough.
this
I was
later on.
I was 19. Oh, dude, it doesn't look so good anymore because
Oh.
it's 12 years old at this
Yeah.
point.
It's okay.
But yeah, and I got that tattoo, and I thought I was so cool with it, man.
Yeah.
It was all like raised up and everything. I was so proud. So yeah, that's great, man. It's cool that Incubus was your first show.
Yeah.
What about you, man? What was one of your first? I mean, it's so like if you went to like Bon Jovi when you were like in the womb,
well,
that doesn't count.
I think I saw like Aerosmith and Green Day was my first big show.
Okay, nice,
Like
very cool.
2001. I'm a little bit older than Cameron.
Okay.
So I was like 8th grade, 2001, and Get Up Kids opened. So it was like the best.
Oh yeah,
good
dude.
show.
Get Up Kids was
a
great
nice,
too.
Like Bronco Bowl, like Canyon Club. It was like the coolest.
Dude,
venue.
Bronco Bowl.
Yeah.
That's old school right there.
Yeah.
Man. But like I didn't really. I'm from Sanger, like just the town of North
Yeah.
here. So I didn't. I mean, like I was born here, like bought groceries here. If you had to go to McDonald's back in the day, you had to like get it from here.
Yeah.
But I didn't really realize that there was a music scene until I was about a sophomore, and like my friends started driving, and started getting out on my own, and then like just going to basement shows at J&J's.
Yeah.
Like there used to just be like these insane shows, and there was this high school scene at the time. It was like incredible.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like piggybacked on that, and then kind of rode that out.
I graduated in '06.
Yeah.
And like Battle of the Bands and
Yeah.
all those things. I mean, we even had a
Yeah.
big scene in Southlake.
Yeah, that,
You know,
that was
Sounds like-
Yeah,
that was
I
the
didn't know that was
scene.
possible.
Yeah, it was,
It was-
out there.
that's crazy.
2005 was the last one at DHS, and that was my band won it. It was
Nice.
my senior year, and it was like after like I found out like freshman year that there was a battle band. I was like, I'm gonna like do this. But that was the last one, and like ever since then, like I don't know, I
Yeah.
didn't see too many. I mean, now you're seeing it with like Didn't Workshop and stuff, like kids and stuff
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah,
but-
and we went down to in the basement one night. My buddy came up. He said, "Hey, man, there's a lo-fi show." So we thought maybe it was like lo-fi beats. We're like, "Okay, cool." Well, then there's this whole other subgenre of lo-fi.
oh, dude.
Of
yeah.
lo-fi rock that
Yeah,
I,
I
was
love lo-fi rock.
completely unaware
Great
of.
noise scene
I
in this
really
town.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a great noise scene in this
Yeah.
town because I've done the sound for those shows, and I'm like, okay, like,
They bring their own PAs.
Maybe I should.
Yeah.
They bring 5 PAs.
Maybe I should start making noise music and people will come to my shows.
test
Yeah.
out an
wild.
But no,
instrument.
you're so right. Is that they bring their own. One time I ran it for a guy and he brought 4 cassette players.
Oh, yeah.
And he had them all running into his own mixer and he would just play stuff off of those cassettes and blend them together.
Yeah.
It wasn't Filth. That one,
Yeah,
the one
yeah.
guy who that dude
There's a
brings a
couple of dudes that do
van
it, yeah.
of
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
It was
Awesome.
it was intense. Yeah, for that it is literally like see how long you can go in
Right.
that room.
Yeah.
You know, first time I saw Filth was at like that kind of house music festival we had 2 years ago.
yeah.
Band Together Denton.
Right.
And he played after me.
Yeah.
And which couldn't have been two completely
All the
different,
blues, man. Yeah.
two completely different
I
acts.
guess
But
not anymore. But
it was crazy how much that was available. And
Yeah.
I love that you say Bronco Bowl, man, because that
Dude.
was my first concert.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it got tore down like the next year or
Mm-hmm.
something. But
I saw The Used, Boxcar Racer,
Nice.
and H2O was what they would
Nice.
call it.
That's
H2O
right.
was
That's awesome.
local. Yeah, they were like kind of a local. But it was Boxcar's only tour they ever went on, and then The Used. And I went to that show, man, and I had so much fun with my buddy Tony
great,
Finlayson.
man.
I'll never forget it. And I met a girl there, like you're supposed to when you
Yeah,
go to a
at a
concert.
Boxcar
yeah,
Racer.
yeah. And you know,
it's
it's
gonna
like
happen.
ninth grade or whatever. And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" She's like, "Hey, what's up?" Never saw her again.
never
and
seen
you
that
know,
pop punk disaster
yeah.
girlfriend.
Yeah, that's pretty.
You're out
Yeah, it was
there.
just like that's what it was. It's
Stay
ninth,
out
ninth
there.
grade. Yeah,
Yeah.
just being ridiculous. Parents pick you up later on. How was it? Oh, it was great. You know. But I remember at one point a mosh pit happened, and my buddy Tony grabbed onto my arm, and I watched him just like like get sucked into the crowd and
Oh,
just
wow.
disappear. And I was like.
Avenge me.
And when that's what it was like. When I finally saw him, he was up in the stands the next time. He was like, "Hey!" I was like, "Dude, like,
How'd you get
He's
up
like
there?
backstage, like
yeah, but you know that was one of my first show that wasn't like a battle of the bands to go watch
Yeah.
kids I knew or go see
Yeah,
like some
yeah.
local kids who played it. Like we used to our J&J's was a country club,
Wow.
and our dad, not our dad, but a friend's dad ran this
was
part
it a
of
basement?
It wasn't a basement,
man.
not at all.
That'd
but
be
it was a
cool.
part of a country club, and they had like a little banquet room, and he would
nice.
let us come in. He would let kids,
Rock it out.
go up there and set up and have shows
Yeah.
there. And I mean, the music was awful, but there were some
Yeah.
bands that were good. You know, some of
Yeah.
them were good, most of it was not. You know, but it was everybody figuring it
It's
out.
usually
Like,
yeah,
case.
like I saw that, and we set up a show at the community center in Zanger, and
Dude.
like for our album release, and like invited a bunch of bands that were like in their 20s and stuff, and were like in high schoolers and stuff, and just like made it happen.
that's awesome, man.
But-
Yeah, that's so cool. I love hearing those stories about how people have like how your first show, the music that you came
Yeah,
to, and
it's
all
always
that.
very special.
You know,
significant in some way.
So when did you start, Cameron? When did you start playing music? You know, you're like, I think I can do that up there. When did you? And you first lied to your friend at 12.
I did.
So when were you?
I did. I was trying to
When
act
did
full.
yeah? When did you,
you know?
start? I mean, maybe you had already played the guitar, but when did you kind of start developing, an idea or some musical?
Yeah.
stuff.
So I was 14 when I started playing guitar, and then it wasn't until I was 16 until I felt confident about
Okay.
playing in front of people. Because like during those first 2 years of playing guitar, it was just like constant, like every day after school,
Mm-hmm.
like before I go to bed, like it would always be in my hand, like no matter what. And then when I was 17, I was in a band for a little bit, and then they kicked me out for some reason. I don't remember why. And I was like, well, I'm going to go start my own band. And I was like 17 years old with my best friend, and we started a band called Behind Buildings in high school. My
Great
senior
It
year in
wasn't
high school.
3 names. Like
Do what?
last in battle, or like, dude, there was a time when every band you had to have 3 words in your name. So the fact that you were just
yeah.
2,
It was always like an epic verb. I always used to like make fun of it back in the day. Like, it always has to be an epic verb.
last man standing.
Yeah, exactly. So like we could have been like.
So it was behind buildings?
Behind buildings.
That's cool. I like
Kind of
that.
weird to say.
Yeah.
Like now, like 12 years later, but.
Ours
Yeah,
was all for Ashley. So
all for Ashley.
3 rings.
It has to be alliteration and epic at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'll listen.
But yeah, like those, like that band was like particularly the first like real band I was in that I started myself, and then like that fell apart like after like 3 years because then everyone kind of dispersed, moved to college. We were
Yeah,
all like 20 at the time, and then that's when we moved up to Denton.
Nice.
In that case,
Very
so.
very cool. And
choice.
have you you play drums? Correct.
Yes.
And have you always been a drummer?
I mean, I started off on bass when I was about 12, I
Okay.
guess, or that's what I was going to play when all my friends were like, oh, let's all, be a band. And like, I was the only one that got an instrument. But it was a small town, so I was like the only one like really in my class that played and stuff. And then I started playing guitar, I got really into that. And then I played for like my church, like from 8th grade to like senior year, and then playing in bands around here. But I used to just like front bands, like
Okay.
playing guitar.
Yeah.
And then like I stopped playing music for a while, and then like getting back into music for like the past like 7 years.
Nice.
It's kind of been mainly drums, just because there's only, I guess, like it seems like 10 drummers. I know there's way more in this town, but just everyone just, I don't know.
Yeah, there's
It's-
only so many you can trust.
It's like I play guitar and stuff
Yeah.
too. But
You
yeah,
played guitar with Banshee for a while.
Oh,
yeah,
you did?
Well,
Nice.
I started on drums and then
Okay.
moved to guitar eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's primarily been drums for me for about like 7 years.
Nice, man.
But-
Nice. Very, very cool. So, drummers have always amazed me because y'all can do 4 things at once. 5 because you think about the next thing that it's like.
I try not to.
But
That's
one thing
not
that
really my style.
I worked at Kroger for a long time, and
Yeah.
I not a long time, just a little bit when I was 16.
It'll feel like
And
a
I
long
would
time over
always
there.
drum. There was literally a
Yeah.
lady who worked at the deli, and she would come by. She'd call me Little Drummer Boy because I would just play with like the pins.
air drum.
So what I always tried to do was do 2 different rhythms, like one with the hi hat, and then my foot a different one. I could never ever get it right,
Yeah.
and that's one of the hard. Like to me, there's people who sing while they play guitar, which I find very impressive, and then just drumming in general, the ability
Yeah.
to keep multiple tempos.
I just picked it up real quick. I mean, like it took me about 6 months. Well, I mean, like I had been
It's like, yeah, it's whatever.
I had been
It's no big deal.
okay. I had struggled to like play guitar and bass for years already, and I had kind of gotten decent at it.
Okay.
But I mean, I just had drummers like leave their drum set at my house, and it was literally just putting it on like headset and then
And just
playing
play
along
it.
to it. And it's like when you hit the thing, it makes the noise. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but the muscle memory it gets down after a while. but-
That was one thing. Like I was talking to my dad recently, and he was like, "So like music that I make and stuff." He was like, like what is it? And I was like, "Well, the thing is like when you're making music on a computer, there are thousands of different sounds, thousands of different options. What's great about like because he would ask like, why don't you use all these different noises and stuff? I was like, well, sometimes you have to slim it down to the basics of what we've had
limitless.
in society for the last 1,000, 2,000 years of music, drums, keys,
Boundaries are a
something
good
with
thing.
strings,
Yeah.
and then you add stuff behind it, or else you just you
get lost.
You get completely.
I'm just now
completely
getting
lost.
into like digital music and like beat creating and
I'm a
DJing, and
stranger
I'm
to it.
totally lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's,
I'm
there's
gonna
a lot
have
of things to.
I need to
place.
pick your brain after this. Actually,
Yeah,
I feel like an old man, like just
Yeah.
trying to learn
Just trying to
Windows
catch up.
95 all over again when it comes to that.
I just
that
got a
kind of stuff.
garage band rig for the first time. And
Nice.
Yeah.
working that out.
I remember having to write my dad a handwritten list of how to burn a CD. It started with click start, like. Bring mouse to bottom left corner of computer screen. Click start. Not kidding. It had to be that.
Wow.
Like it couldn't just say click start because then he'd be like, "There's no
Oh,
start." But
gosh.
he'd be looking on the computer like, "Where's the
I
start?"
worked
button?
IT
It's like-
for a very, very
Oh,
small amount of time, and trying to work with people online was hilarious because I'm like, all right, well, go to your internet browser. They're like, or Internet Explorer. They're like, what is that? It's the lowercase blue e on your computer. It's like, oh, that thing.
Yeah, I wondered what that was.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's the internet. All right. That's all
the
you had to
computer.
do. So when you started playing music, Cameron, when did you have your? We've talked about the first show you went to see, Incubus.
Yeah.
When did you play like your first? And we won't say
Sure.
like bigger show, but that first time you were in front of people playing the first time.
The first show I ever played in my life was when I was 17 years old, and it's kind of wild because when I think about it now, I'm like, I would never do this today because this was at my school library at 7 a.m. in the morning. We played, I think it was like 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning, but I remember waking up at like 5 a.m., loading up the stuff, getting to my school.
Wow.
And like it was kind of a really cool stuff what they got going on because they used to like host like bands in the library like every other week.
That's awesome.
That's
And
really cool.
That kind of like I forgot to mention that's kind of what motivated me to do that because I saw my friend's band do that and I was like I want to play the library so bad because it's like you have all this noise happening and people are going to go see you, so you have like automatically a crowd of like 100 people watching you. So I was like, I want to do that.
Stage to like strive for.
Exactly.
And it's in a library.
It's in a library.
Normally where you have to be
you
quiet.
have like this,
letting the
juxtaposition
kids
going
just
on.
let loose.
Yeah.
Like,
So
right next to the Tolstoy. Just
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
yeah, I'll never forget it. Like I remember like turning around, looking at my drummer, and he was just like, "I'm super nervous." I was like, "Just play it like the rehearsals, man.
Yeah.
Let's just do it."
Can we turn the lights down, Miss A? Like, excuse me, librarian. Can we turn the lights down?
Yeah. So I think that was like our first show, but then like I think one of our first real shows like was at like some venue in Houston called the Engine Room.
Okay.
And like I remember being very excited about that one, just to play a real venue, not in someone's house or kitchen like we did before in the past.
Definitely.
And then when I moved to Denton, I think like my first real show was with Space State, and I think like when I felt really good about it, we played at Dance of Relief. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Very cool. Very
played a lot
cool.
of house shows
That's a
back in
great
the
place
day.
to play too.
Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
sound is awesome over there, man. It is fantastic. And so, what about you, man? What was one of like either kind of your first or what you would consider more of a show?
That Green Day show in 2001, like there was someone walking around with a clipboard that was like, "Hey, we got this battle of the bands," and blah blah blah. And it's like I didn't even have a band. I had my friend with me. We both kind of played guitar. We were like, "Oh yeah, it's 6 months from now. Let's sign up for this." Or whatever. It was one of those pay to play things.
Oh,
I had no
yeah.
idea.
Those guys. Yeah.
So like my mom like drove us back out to Dallas and stuff, and it was this whole big deal, because we're from Sanger and stuff.
Yeah.
So we like got this band together, and like our bass player like moved here from like Orange County, and like been hanging out with this kid for like months because he was into punk rock and stuff. Hadn't heard him play at all. His bass comes shipped to him. And he like pulls it out and he's like Les Claypool, like going crazy. So like it was like me and his cousin who lived in Dallas, and then we had a drummer who like left the day before. He was like great metal drummer, but we had no songs, but everyone was like good at what they did. So we just kind of were faking it. So we had to replace the drummer like the day before. It was in Deep Ellum Live.
Okay.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah, man, that's pretty sweet.
But there was like 40 bands, and like we played like at 6 o'clock, and we had to sell tickets, and we didn't, we sold like 10.
Been there.
Yeah,
It was
I've been
brutal.
there at some point.
Made up the
man.
entire set the night before.
My first show in Dallas, I was kind of one of those pay-to-play things, but I didn't have to pay. I just sold tickets.
Yeah.
And luckily, it was the first time I played in Dallas, and so like I had friends who were like, "Yeah, dude, $10, I'll come see you."
Right.
So
Yeah.
really, and it was at Poor David's. Poor David's Pub. It was down there. So, and I because I sold so many tickets, because I sold like 25 of them, I got a 45-minute set.
Nice.
And then I made money from the show.
That's awesome.
But the guy who booked it was so rude that I was like, I will never do this again.
Yes.
And, oh, dude, he was like, when I showed the venue, the whole thing said like get there at like 5:30 because you don't know when your time slot's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
So I told him,
So
I was
just
like,
pick
he was like,
one.
I got there and he was like,
you don't know any of the like show etiquette and
no,
stuff.
nothing.
So
And so
you're just
I got there and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm here to play." He was like, "You don't go on till 9:30."
so brutal.
And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna hang out.
Right.
I'm just gonna
sort
hang
of
out."
drink
up
soda.
over here.
So long story short, man, I played that show. Like 2 years later, I end up getting a residency at the hotel right next to it, playing music.
Nice.
I show up one night, and one of my cables, one of my XLRs isn't working. So I run next door to Poor David's, and sure enough, the sound guy, who I said thank you to multiple times, said thank you to him when he helped me set up,
say
said thank you to him on the mic, and said thank you to him when I left, was there.
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Hey, buddy." And he was like, "Hey, I remember you." And I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "I'm in a real tough spot. Can I borrow an XLR from you? I can bring it back after." He goes, "Just hold on to it, man. He was like,
Wow.
you can take it.
Shoot.
And I was like, are you sure? He's like, if you don't want it, just leave it at the front desk up there. I'll come get it after we're closed. And I was like, all right, cool. So just
pretty dope.
left it at the front desk, and this guy was just as nice as could be about it, man. So
And that's why it pays to be nice to sound guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
my
This
buddies
guy.
used to make fun of me and say, you should either be DJ tip your bartender or DJ thank the sound guy.
Right.
Like,
Tis the sound guy.
I did before every show. I always go, thanks, shout outs to the sound guy. Make sure you tip the bartenders. Let's have fun.
Word.
And
It's true.
And then go on our way.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet and then start a band? Which, by the way, we haven't mentioned this, but
Oh, yeah, we're in a band.
Antigua.
Yes.
Antigua.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason.
Yeah,
Part of the
we're-
reason why we're here. Yes.
Yeah, by the way.
We're halfway through now. We
Yeah.
can get to
Yeah.
the
Let's
brass
get down to
tacks.
brass tacks.
My personal favorite saying when I'm trying to get to the point. Yeah.
So I met Trent. I want to say about 7 years ago. I was. I think I met you at your house with Bess.
Yeah, we were having a house party.
There was a house party, and I remember like Bess was showing me around the place for some reason. We were just all just snooping around, and we're hanging out. And then like we just kind of like on and off would just see each other, but then we didn't really start becoming more and more friends throughout the years until he started working at Pascal's.
Okay.
He was the door guy over there for a while.
Nice.
Around the same time I started working there, so like we would always just like talk throughout the shift and just talk about music and whatnot. But I felt like he was always really busy with like his own bands at the time, and so like it never was like an idea for us to play music together. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like I think around that time, yeah, that's like right when I got out of Space State, and I got more into the whole cocktail bartending thing, and so I really honestly wasn't really doing music at all for about almost a little over a year.
Okay.
And then I bought a guitar, a baritone guitar specifically, and I wanted to start making music solely on a baritone guitar for like a heavier tone, but like with like alternative tunings.
So a baritone. To explain that, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Basically, it's a longer scale guitar.
Oh, okay.
Like you can play all types of music on it. Like it's not just for metal; it's for
Okay.
all types of music. A lot of like country rock bands.
Like,
Yeah.
think of the
Baritone.
Twin Peaks theme.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's a baritone guitar.
Oh, I love that. That's what
Yeah,
you mean. The
that's-
Twin Peaks name, and I'm like, oh yeah,
like
I know
that
exactly
first
what that
kind of-
is.
Yeah, and then
What a show.
And then I think Trent hit me up, or vice versa. Like we were sharing a rehearsal space.
Okay.
At Rubber Gloves, and I was living in an apartment at the time. And I really wanted to make more noise and stuff. I wanted to play drums, but I couldn't, and I feel like I wasn't really being able to write any type of music at
Yeah.
all. And so we got that spot. And then we started like we would like kind of cross paths and like play music either here and there. But most of the time, I would be in Rubber Gloves rehearsal studios just like by myself for like 3 hours, just looping music,
Yeah.
and just creating ideas on a baritone guitar. And then after some time, I pulled out of the lease or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever
that I
that,
was,
yeah.
that I was
Lease.
doing.
Yeah,
Well, because that's like
lease.
around the time when they shut down. So I was just like, well, I'm out, And then I moved into a house, and that's when I was able to start making music again.
Okay.
And then we played our first show together, but we were actually two different bands.
Yeah, we
Okay.
were kind of like
so it's kind of funny
we
how
were
that
kind of
worked
like
out.
challenging each other because I was doing like
Yeah.
loop stuff with
Okay.
guitar at the same time, and we were like, let's just put together a show. He had his stuff more together, and I was just like, oh, I guess I could do something.
He had like
Yeah.
this giant
like three pedal boards
three
and
pedal
5
thing
amps.
going on. Like it was
Ridiculous.
this huge setup.
very
I
formidable
mean, it looked
spaceship.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, like you're gonna like kill it tonight.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever you got going on. But so like that's like initially how it started with that first show we played together, and then I played another show by myself again. And I was like, man, this is really boring. Like, I don't like playing by myself. Like, I don't.
It was awesome. Like you had the drum machine going, and I was just
Yeah.
like, there's definitely some stuff here.
Yeah,
Let's combine forces. I was kind of thinking
Yeah.
at the time, but then
yeah. But the thing was, like, I vibe off the energy of others, and I get more excited because it's like I believe in myself, but I'm also like I'm not that.
Yeah, I
I
know-
don't consider
yeah.
myself like a solo artist kind of thing. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't play with anyone. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so reserved. So, I basically just asked Trent. I was like, "Yo, dude, like, you already know me, and
Yeah.
you already know the music.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just start something?
Very
And
cool.
We had like a couple of like one-off shows like here and there,
I
and
think we like played a show the first time we jammed. Just really.
Yeah, that's what happened. We get, like he proposed like the show that was happening at J&J's.
I like booked something at J&J's, and they were like, it was an out-of-town band. They're like,
Yeah.
we don't have anyone else on the bill, and so like
that was
oh,
our first
cool.
show. Yeah,
Nice.
Like, let us add on to the bill. And then, like, over the course of the day, this other person got added, and then they added 3 more bands. And no one told each other.
it
and,
was
like,
weird.
and the guy from out of town was just like, no, it's cool, it's cool. So, like, we ended up, like, pushing someone off of the bill that got made up the day before.
Oh,
so
my God.
I'm sorry, whoever
it
that
was a mess.
Our
It-
bad.
Yeah,
But
there was
our
this.
bad.
There
we
was
got called the bullshit duo.
Yeah.
I remember someone was like, oh, crap, bull crap duo.
Oh, well, it happens. I didn't even notice it, honestly.
It
Anyway,
was in context. It was in context of an art
it's all
thing,
good.
So.
Battaglia's
so
done
late.
it.
Sorry.
You're good. I didn't. It went. You know how many times I have played songs that I'm not supposed to play on here accidentally,
yeah.
and they slip one in. You're good, Trent. You'll never be back again. You're done in this town everywhere.
I thought I was going to crack. It's okay.
Check. It's done.
Yeah, no,
Like I said, dude. Yeah. But you know, how did y'all come up with, like, one thing that's always, you know, the struggle is, what's our name going to be? What are we going to go by?
Oh man, that
So-
was a bit of a tiff, and still is a tiff right now that we're going through, because I spent like months just like trying to figure out like what's, you know, gonna work for it, you know, because I didn't like at first it was just my name,
Yeah.
like Cameron Trevino, solo artist. And
Okay,
I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah, we did
I just don't
a
like
couple
it.
shows.
I really wanted you to be Gran Trevino, and
Trevino.
you dressed up like you know, what's his name in the movie, from the movie Gran Torino?
Halloween, dude.
Take it. I'll take
do it
that.
on
I'll take that as
Halloween.
my
Old Gran
solo act. You
Trevino.
know? But Antigua came from a video I was watching about spaghetti western
Okay.
music, and the guitar he was playing was the same color as my baritone, which is an Antigua color.
Oh, cool.
But on the guitar that he was playing said Antigua on it. I just loved the way it looked.
It's a cool name.
It's
It rolls nicely.
exactly. So
You
I was
know?
like, well, you know, I started a band based off a certain guitar. I might as well just
Yeah.
name it Antigua, you know.
I like
and-
antiques. I like guacamole. Antigua.
It's got a good.
Yeah. But then the problem arises more and more throughout some time, because there's so many. I mean, you know, it's a country, it's a color, you know, it's
Yeah.
a noun, you know.
It's a form
So
of jazz, too.
yeah,
It's a jazz band from the 80s. too.
and so
Feel
we're
that.
actually in the midst of changing it, and that's still something that's kind of like going underway.
Right
like
on.
Antigua will still be in the name, but
Yeah, for sure.
we have to add something
Yeah,
to it because it's
Antigua,
kind of an issue.
not the jazz band or the country or the color.
Right.
Yeah.
Parentheses.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have any? Up and coming shows? Like anything that's going to be going on that people can come out and check the sounds out?
We have 2 shows coming up. We have one this Friday
Nice.
at Harvest House. It's
Oh,
our
yeah.
Very first time playing at Harvest House.
Love playing that
very
venue,
excited
man.
about it. We're playing with Mother Tongues.
Nice.
The last great American rock band.
Nice.
And Bad something. I think it's a band on tour.
I am not on Facebook, so I've not
That's
seen.
true.
I just know that I'm playing twice.
Yeah, I'm sorry if y'all seen this, but yeah, like, so we're playing with them, and then on the 29th,
Okay.
it's on a Monday, we'll be at Dan Silverleaf. We're playing with Claire Morales.
Sweet.
Girl is
Yeah,
super awesome.
awesome,
Love
yeah.
her music.
Great stuff.
Great performer, and like, I've worked with her in the past here and there. So
That's great.
Currently working with her right now, actually, for dance stuff.
That's sweet.
And another band called the Time Wreckers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a Friday show and we have a Monday show coming up.
Nice.
So
when you guys write music, having been friends for so long, Trent, is it more of kind of like you come into a room and you jam, and when you hit that thing, you're like, that's the note right there, and then kind of build off of that, or like how does it kind of work for you guys? When you...
Kind of. I mean, like Cameron's kind of steering the ship, like with his ideas and stuff, and like like the tones and stuff, and he kind of has an idea and like brings it to me, and then like. He usually uses like a beat machine, and then we're like, all right, let's put it through my bad drumming and see what it's going to sound like. And then we also have a third member, Jonas, who isn't here right now,
Yeah.
on bass.
yeah, Jonas is famously, notoriously always late to something, but when he's there, he's there.
Yeah.
He's
So
great.
I
when
know
he
Jonas
shows
is going to
up.
see this later, so
He's a busy
like-
boy, and
he's a very busy guy.
Yeah.
he's
and-
doing Maestro Maya stuff right
yeah.
now. So.
Oh,
So he's in a
dude.
band called Maestro
I
Maya.
love Maestro Maya, man.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
Maestro Maya, man. Great stuff, man. And then like I ran sound for a lot, like Great American Rock Band. When I was at Backyard on Bell, just needing some extra scratch in between jobs, bless that place, hooking me up with some with door gigs and
Yeah.
sound gigs, and that's where I learned a lot of how to run sound, and it's where I met so many new musicians, and I learned I have a love of math rock.
Yeah,
I had
math
no
rock's
idea
great.
I liked
I
math
was
rock,
a
and there was
sucker
this
for it.
band called Rorschach.
Oh,
and
wow.
those guys slayed it. They were like Fall of Troy.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't understand how.
and I was like,
this
oh,
bass
yes!
plays.
Yeah.
You know, so I loved when those guys were would come through.
They've been coming through for a while.
Yeah,
too.
every time I see that they're here, I don't make it out to as many of those shows now, but man, they're one of those bands who I'm like, I would love to see these kids keep ascending and keep doing stuff. So
Yeah, like Charlie from Upsetting used to play with them
yeah,
and stuff. Back
those
in the
guys,
day.
those guys are awesome, man. And now, do you guys have anything online for people to check out? Any social media? Where can they find the resources?
Yeah. So first and foremost, like it's we're on social media, but it's more about the music. So it's antigua.bandcamp.com.
Okay.
We released a kind of like a mini singles EP last year with Michael Briggs. He recorded us last year around May, almost a year ago, and just to have it out there, just to send it to people like, hey, this is the band.
Nice.
So like we want to have some type of substance and not be an empty band.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want
with
to
social media, but no music.
You don't want to ask for a guarantee with no music.
It's hard to get shows.
Shoot, shoot, shoot.
Yeah,
Pop that one.
I like that.
Now, if you had to kind of, I'm sorry to always have to ask
Sure.
this question, but if you had to describe your sound, if you had to kind of pick, like, what would you say the sound is?
We get. Obviously, people are going to compare no matter what.
Yeah.
And I mean that's fine. A lot of like, I'd say like post punk, shoegaze, new wave
Okay.
kind of sound.
Dark wave.
Dark wave. Like I would say melancholy, kind of just moody kind of music.
Cool, man.
Atmospheric. I try to do.
It makes sense. The name Antigua, and that's.
I don't know what you would say, but
Yeah, same
like
thing.
his
I mean,
interpretation of it.
Yeah, I mean, like we connect on like a lot of the
Yeah.
same kind of bands and stuff.
Shoegaze is one of my favorite terms to describe music because it's so
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I mean it really is.
Yeah,
like,
on what it is. Like, it's like,
yeah.
you can just kind of zone out and stare at your shoes.
Yeah.
Kind of what it is,
You know,
really.
It's very moody.
At first, I thought it was because guys were always going down to pedals, like
I mean,
so
that
it was,
too.
that's kind of-
They should call it pedal
shoegaze.
gaze,
That's
honestly.
kinda-
yeah. Well, that's what's up, man, dude. So this Friday at Harvest House,
Mm-hmm.
and then you said the 29th at Dan's.
29th Monday at Dan's.
29th Monday at Dan's. What time do y'all start at Harvest House on Friday?
I believe 9:00.
Nice.
I think for both shows we're like the first band, and in all honesty, like we like to be like the first band for some shows here and
Especially
there.
at Harvest House, it's great. At 9:00 at Harvest House, there's
sun's
plenty
setting.
of people there. Sun's
Yeah.
coming down. It's gorgeous out.
Yeah.
Then you get to sit back, kick it, and relax, and enjoy your drinks. And then
Exactly.
everybody gets to come up and tell you how great you were.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, guys, 45 minutes just flies by.
man.
It really does,
I know.
yeah.
It's amazing. Is there anything like we forgot to talk about? Is there any more social media? Do you guys have a Facebook or an Instagram?
So
yet?
we have a Facebook. This is where the problem kind of arises. I was talking about earlier with the whole band name.
Yep.
So on Facebook, it's Antigua Band.
Okay.
And that's going to change very soon. But for now, it's Antigua Band, and then it's the same thing on Instagram,
Nice.
Antigua Band.
Yeah. There's another Kind Beats out there too, but we're cool.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, somebody tagged me again. And I'm like, hey, somebody tagged me again. He's
Yeah.
like, all right.
Yeah.
He's a drummer in like Minnesota or something. But he's a really good guy. He hosts like charitable things for
Nice.
kids to come and learn drums for free and like these huge things.
Yeah, you always gotta be friends with that
that
identity
doppel guy.
doppelganger.
Yeah.
you know?
It's kind of like mother tongue.
Fellas,
mother tongue.
thank y'all so much
Yeah,
for
absolutely,
coming
dude.
out tonight, man. It
Thanks
was
for having us, man.
Super
Yeah,
fun. And like I
appreciate
was
ya.
like, oh my gosh, I just looked up. I was like, that interview just flew
Yeah,
by, man.
really fast.
So if you guys are interested, you want to check out Antigua. Once again, it's Antigua Band. To find them on Facebook, they're going to be playing this Friday starting at 9:00 at Harvest House, and on the 29th, that's a Monday, at Dan's. You can also find them on Bandcamp under Antigua Band as well.
Actually, no, just Antigua.
Antigua on Bandcamp as well. So make sure you guys go and surf the shoegazy waves. It's
Surf
going to
the
be a good
shoegaze.
time. Guys, once again,
Cool.
Thank you so much for
Thanks for
coming
having
on.
me.
It's
Yeah.
been a lot of fun. Y'all make sure you tune in next week right here on DentonRadio.com on Tuesday night. I've actually got some pretty fun stuff in store. We're actually going to have a little bit of a live performance going on, so it's going to be a good time. I'm going to keep it a little under wraps for y'all. So make sure you tune in next week, and of course tune in every Sunday for the Sunday brunch from 1 to 2 right here on DentonRadio.com. I will see you guys next week. Peace.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We want to thank our partners and sponsors who made this show possible. And now stick around for a word from all of us here at Discover Denton.